evening, and welcome to the Monday Night Raspberry Pi D-Star Net. I am Wayne, AB9FJ, your net control station this week. This net may be interrupted at any time for priority or emergency traffic, so I will pause now to allow stations to disconnect from the reflector if they do not wish to stay for the net. This net combines two hobbies, ham radio D-Star and microcomputers. And we've said this many times, I really need to edit my script here. By microcomputers, I mean the various flavors of the Pi, the Raspberry Pi, the Banana Pi, the BeagleBones, the Odroids, and similar products. Usually a little bit more than Arduino, so... If you have questions, we'll try to find an answer for you. If you've achieved something cool, feel free to brag about it. And if you've heard some news, share it with us. This net runs about an hour usually, and we start with an open mic for anyone who has a question or an announcement. After that, we open the floor to general check-in and socializing. Let's see, that should have been... let's start now. Does anyone have a question or a comment or news to share? Please give your call sign and wait to be acknowledged.
Kilo Mike 4, Hotel Romeo, Brendan.
N0WIQ.
November 9, Kilowatt, Oscar.
Okay, let me catch up with my log here. Okay, let's see. I see KM4HRR and N0WIQ, but I heard N9KO on the radio, but I didn't see him in the log. And I saw KD4IBD in the log, but I didn't hear him on the radio. So I don't know what's up with that. So, let's start with Kilo Mike 4, Hotel Romeo.
AB9FJ and the group KM4HRR, Brendan in Northern Virginia. So we were out in Dayton or Xenia for Hamvention, and a buddy that I was with picked up a Raspberry Pi DV-Mega combo, and when we got home, we configured it, and we followed the instructions for it's the KB5RAD image, and I'm running that also on my similarly configured Raspberry Pi DV-Mega, but although everything looked to be set up properly, he was getting the following error message. Received RF header for wrong repeater, his call sign, followed by the capital letter B, from his call sign. And I'm looking for any input because we compared the MMDVM and the IRC-DDB setups, and they were identical to mine, which is working, with the exception of the call signs being different, and we continued to get that error. And I'm just curious if anybody has seen that, or if anybody knows why that might be happening. Over.
Okay, Brendan, let's see if somebody has some ideas for you. Would anyone like to step forward with some information?
Whiskey Alpha 7, Victor Foxtrot, Quebec, clarification. Which image are you using?
This is AB9FJ. I think Brendan said was it Kilo Delta 5 Romeo Alpha Bravo? Brendan, are you still there?
AE9.
Yep, I thought I answered the question. The KB5RAB image. Over.
Okay, Jim, did you copy that? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. W7VFQ. I'll be standing by listening.
WA7.
Okay, so we're still looking for someone who has some ideas about the issue that Brendan described. If we don't have an answer now, let people think about it, and maybe they'll come back later there. So once again, I'll open for suggestions. I guess we don't have an answer for you right away, Brendan, but perhaps somebody will think of something and come back later. So stick around. We have several other call signs in my queue here, so let me run down them and see what's going on there. November 0, Whiskey India Quebec.
Good evening, Net people. This is N0WIQ. The name is Carrie. And I had an issue when I tried to attend the Papa Net earlier this week or last week. And couldn't seem to get into it as well as I could with my Raspberry Pi hotspot. And I was wondering, because they were talking about having check-ins come in from multiple situations, not only D-Star check-ins, but other digital modes and analog modes too. And theoretically that would be possible, but I got the feeling that I was just not getting through the crowd. Any answers?
Okay, I had a little bit of trouble copying your question, but I think what you were saying is that you tried to check into one of the Papa system nets, and you were unable to make your, to get into the net, and you think that it was because there were other modes kind of competing with D-Star. Is that pretty much the gist of your question? And then I'll turn it over to the net for possible suggestions or answers.
Well, the gist is basically correct. I was using a Raspberry Pi on this radio, which is my ID 5100. Whatever, the Thursday or Friday night office net, and they went from the lake out in the West Coast. They took us into the XRF 038 or whatever, and they were trying to use to conglomerate a bunch of different modes into one link. And I just got the feeling I was being crowded out with my Raspberry Pi link.
Okay. Again, I'm having some difficulties copying there. So, did anyone have any suggestions there for Carrie?
WA6 Papa X-ray.
AE9FJ.
WA6 Papa X-ray.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
AE9
Roger, I also had similar problems. Last week, Papa Systems activated their X Reflector 012 Alpha, and it apparently accepts multiple mode inputs and translates them so that each mode coming in can hear the other modes coming in. They were having some initial bring up issues, and several times during the week had to reboot, change some code, and a variety of things. It seems to be working okay today when I tried it. So my suggestion is find a repeater and have its reflector linked to XRF012 alpha and test it yourself directly. The other suggestion is find a repeater or link a repeater to regular reflector 12 alpha and call for Papa System help. They monitor both of those all the time and are really anxious to have everyone have a good experience checking in on their new cross reflector.
Okay, thank you, Jim. That's very informative. I also see Whiskey 6, Charlie Juliet X-ray, so I'm thinking that he might have some more information about this. Go ahead, please.
Well, good evening, Wayne and the net. This is Bob, W6CJX, and I am one of the Papa System members. I was involved with that particular multi-mode net the other night. I wasn't running it, but I was involved. And basically, the X Reflector 12 Alpha is always connected to a All-Star bridge, and that goes over to our analog repeaters. We have so many repeaters here in Southern California. And so what they were doing is they were running the net actually on the analog side of our system, and anyone that wanted to come in on T-Star would come in on X Reflector 12 Alpha. We also have a multi-protocol XRX reflector that they were using for DMR. So we basically had D-Star, DMR, and analog connected. It was a little chaotic and a little, so I understand Kerry may not have been able to get in, but if he was going from his Raspberry Pi into the X Reflector 12 Alpha, I think I actually heard him trying to check in, but it could have been a little difficult. It was a lot going on that night, and it was mostly experimental just to see how things would play. And that was for the Thursday night technical roundtable. I'll be hosting the Papa TechNet tomorrow night on 12 Alpha 8 p.m. Just a shameless little plug. Let me send it back to you, Wayne, and see if you copied all that.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Bob. That was very, very informative, and I hope that helps Kerry there. I see one more call sign here in case he wants to comment on the same subject before I go back to Kerry. KB5HPT. Go ahead there.
Okay, Wayne. Thanks for taking my call. And Kerry, there is a sizable latency issue with the Raspberry Pis as well. I don't know all of the technical ins and outs on that, but I know I run a Raspberry Pi with a DV Mega, and that's what I'm using right now, and I experience a lot of difficulty getting checked in to different nets, and it's mainly due to this latency issue that is inherent to the Raspberry Pi, and I think it's any of them. The DVAP, what have you, the DV4 minis. So I don't know. Anyway, but that's the only thing I can say is just be persistent, and you'll get in. This is KB5HPT.
Okay, thanks to all three of you there. Let's go back to Carrie. Was this helpful for you?
Oh, this way it gives me a little more understanding of what might have been going on. The latency in the Raspberry Pi, I'm sure, is because of the timing that has to be accounted for between the received signal of the Raspberry Pi and the connection through the internet and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of an accumulative thing. I understand that. So it may be, and like you say, keep trying. I'll try it again because I found it an interesting situation. So we'll just see what happens.
Okay, good luck. Let us know how that works out. Next on my list, I have November 9, Kilo Oscar.
Okay, try it again here. November 9, Kilo Oscar here. Thank you, Wayne. And just a suggestion, and hopefully we'll get some comments, but I'd be interested in hearing from anyone who went to Dayton and have some knowledge about and hear what they've learned about Raspberry Pi and D-Star equipment. It sounds like Robin Cutshaw is coming out with some new devices that will eliminate the Raspberry Pi. Heaven forbid. But be curious to hear comments from people about that or other types of Raspberry Pi and D-Star devices. Back to you, Net Control from N9KO.
Okay, an open question there. Does anyone want to comment? Well, I don't have details. I was at the Friday night D-Star gathering at the Drury Inn, where Robin was talking about the line of products. I mean, he talked about them briefly, and I have not pursued to get more information about them. But the best, what I can do is probably give you the sort of name. The product line I think is called DV Air. You know, Delta Victor Alpha India Romeo, and there were three products that he described. The basic DV Air. There was a DV Air something else, I forget what that was, and the DV Air Pro. And I don't have my notes in front of me, or do I? What is this? Yeah, I don't trust my own handwriting here, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Anyway, I think if you Google DV Air, that's two words, you might find something in Google. So let me turn back to the net and see if anyone else has comments.
KM4HRR with a comment.
Go ahead, Brendan.
AE9FJ.
AM4HRR with your comment. Okay, I hope I'm still getting out. I would appreciate a very quick confirmation that things are still working on my end.
It's working, Wayne, KC9SIO.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Brendan, KM4HRR, are you still with us?
Maybe I'm having some sort of problem with this new microphone. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, you sound fine. Yeah. So you had a comment about, I guess, Robin's new product?
So more of a general comment. I've met with, or I spoke with a couple of different vendors, the DV Mega folks, and one other vendor who, again, my notes are not in front of me either. And both of those vendors mentioned that, and again, this is not Raspberry Pi or necessarily D-Star specific, but it does talk about D-Star, that DV Mega products might have a firmware version coming out soon that would allow cross-mode operation, much like the RF Shark. And there was another vendor that mentioned the same thing, but I can't recall who that was, and I'll have to check my notes. That's my comment.
Okay, yeah, and what I seem to remember from Robin's talk is that this TV Air product line will also be multi-mode, so that everybody's doing everything now. Well, I suppose I could turn this around and ask. Well, I'll save this, I think, for the next round here because I have another call sign on my queue here. So, Cal, or N9KO there, I'll bring this up. I'll bring this question up again about developments at Hamvention in a moment. Let's move now to Kilo Delta 4, India Bravo Delta. Did you have a question or an announcement? KG4IVD, are you still with us? Okay, we'll try him again a little bit later. So, yeah, we just finished this weekend with Hamvention, and it was very interesting. I'm still digesting, so I don't have a report or comments really ready to go now, but I imagine some of you do. So, let's have an open question here about, if you went to Hamvention and you saw some stuff about D-Star and Raspberry Pis, let us know about it. Okay, I see KK6, Mike Yankee Sierra. Go ahead. Oh, okay, cool. Is that all one video? And was it taken at one place, one forum or talk or whatever? All right, that's cool. Thank you for pointing us out there. Your name is Ming, is that right? Okay, thank you for that information. Would anyone else like to talk about their experience at Hamvention? Okay, let's try again. Kilo Delta 4, India Bravo Delta. Okay, nothing heard. Maybe we lost him. I also have WA7 VFQ here. Did we get back to you there, Jim? Again, nothing heard there. Is there anyone who has tried to join the net with a comment or a question or whatever and not gotten acknowledged? Please come forward now.
Whiskey Alpha 7, Victor Foxtrot, Quebec, Jim.
Yeah, there you go, Jim. Go ahead.
So, coming out of the Hamvention, one thing that I had a track on was, looks like Kenwood is doing some type of survey. I will post the email address on the Raspberry Pi G-Star group. Kenwood's looking for information about what you're looking for in a radio, and for a G-Star radio. And so they're doing kind of an informal survey. It is going to be going to one of their kind of stakeholders in the U.S. So it does have a Gmail address, but I know the individual and I talked with him, and it is legit. So I'll post the information there. And then one thing back to Carrie's question originally, and the shameless plug, I'm the third Monday night of the month host for this net, and it came up before, why can't I get into net? And it was specifically a really busy net. And when you try to get in at the beginning of the net, there may be 50 people keying up at once. And it's patience, Grasshopper, patience. Be sure you give things time to kind of settle in. And if you are kind of new at it, wait till a little later in the net when there are not so many people keying up at once. Early in the net, there's going to be lots of traffic, and sometimes it is hard to hit. It's like trying to be the 43rd caller on a radio contest. So be patient, check in later in the net, and that always does help. WA7VFQ, clear and back on that.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And so you must have been at that Thursday night thing at what was that pizza? Yeah, I think it's Marion's Pizza Plaza, something like that. So, darn, I wish we could have met up there. But yeah, I got that email address around here too. It's something like jkusa.something.at gmail.com. Yes, and the engineer who was I guess he was largely behind the D74 design. Was asking people to send email to say how much they liked the idea of a radio that covers the 220 megahertz band, because that's not a band that's available to hams, universally. In particular, in Japan, it's not a ham band in Japan. So you can imagine that the Japanese executives at Kenwood needed some persuasion to think that a product that covers that band had legs to a market world around the world. So anyway, they're looking for, or at least this particular engineer was looking for some email to help him convince his executives to continue along the line of the THF6 and the D74 to include the 220 band. And maybe what I would really like to see, the 74 is a really great little radio, but I'm not really in the market for another HT. But I have my D700 that I really like, and but it's kind of long in the tooth, and I'm thinking the next mobile I want to buy will be something like a D700 that includes D-Star. Anyway, that this is my idea. But anyway, thank you. Oh shoot, I've lost your name here. Jim, yes. Thank you for that comment. That was good. And like, if I had my notes handy, I would give that email address. So I'll rely on you perhaps to find it and post it to the Facebook group, because I don't do Facebook. Anyway, I think I'm caught up on everybody who has dropped in their call sign, except for Kate. I think it's Kilo Delta 4. Maybe it's Bravo 4. I don't know. My own handwriting here. Anyway, India Bravo Delta, are you still? Okay, nothing heard there. So have I caught up with everybody? Is there anybody outstanding?
Seven VFQ.
Jim, go ahead.
A, E.
I just wanted to say that I was not at the Thursday night meeting. I got it via another individual that I think was at Hamfest, and I did confirm it with Don Arnold, who is a bit of a spokesman for Kenwood, and he just filled me on more of what the information they're looking for was. But the thing that I wanted to share was I was in Tokyo in April, and my son and I always take time to go down to all the ham radio shops. There's like 40 places down in the Akihabara area that have radios. And I did not find a single Kenwood THD74 on the shelves. Not a one. They had a little plaque out about them, but there was nothing, no product on the shelf, no batteries, nothing. They had no accessories in the stores at all. And that goes to the fact that it does have a 220 band, which would not make it popular in Japan, especially at the price point. So I just wanted to share that. I'm sure they're looking at what have we done, but it's a big thing for the people in the States to have that option, plus the APRS. So that's all I got. The V7 VFQ clear, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Yeah, I saw Don Arnold there at the Thursday night thing. He was down there at the end of the table, and it was somebody else who's a Kenwood employee. At least I think he was a Kenwood employee who gave the email address and asked for ask for, feedback, rooting for the 220 band. Anyway, I see another call sign here. Kilo 2, India Lima Hotel. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, guys. This is K2ILH, Bill in Western New York State. Just checking in, reading the mail. Thank you. This is K2ILH.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So I think I've caught up with everybody. So do we have anyone else with a question or an announcement, or we're still outstanding on Brendan's problem with this KD5RAB image, and I've forgotten the exact error message that Brendan reported there, but has anyone been thinking about that and maybe is ready to offer a potential answer?
Number 0, Sierra Oscar, Mike.
N0SO, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, good evening. I thought about the issue that was being discussed a little bit, and I think the only time I've seen that is when I have a mismatch between the way the radio is programmed versus what the hotspot is expecting. The things like the DVAPs and those kinds of things, they're simplex devices. They expect the radio to be in simplex mode, so if you send it a transmission that's set for repeater, you'll get that error message. And the same if you've got a hotspot that's set up like a repeater. Many of the hotspots expect to be set up like a repeater with a 0 offset for the transmit-receive offset frequency. If you don't have it set that way and the hotspot is expecting that, I believe you'll get the error message that was being seen. So that's something to consider. Check the radio and maybe try programming it as a repeater with 0 offset. Or if it's set that way, try it in simplex mode and see if that fixes the problem. This is N0SO, back to Nat.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Brendan, are you still with us? Did you copy that?
KM4HRR is still here, and I did copy, and we considered that. It's interesting because my radio, which works with my image, which seems to be configured identically to the new hotspot and its image, with the exception of the call signs, my radio gave his image the same error, but it gave my image a perfect working condition. And his radio gave the same error on both images. And we went through with a fine-tooth comb and compared both the IRC-DVB config and the MMDVM config on both images, and they were identical except for the call sign, and that problem persisted. So a little tricky. But thank you for your input, and he's back in Las Vegas now, so I'll pass on your comments. Over.
Okay, now, according to the log here, there was about 15% packet loss on your transmission there, Brendan, and I'm not sure I copied what you heard, what you said there. I wonder, is it just on my end, or did everybody else experience that? For example, Mike, N0SO, was that also kind of choppy to you?
Negative, I copied Brendan 100%, but I have had intermittent dropouts from various people through the course of the night, so I think maybe there's a little network latency issue going on there. N0SO, back to Nat.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Well, I'm still scratching my head about what Brendan said there. So, I mean, it sounded like you were saying that either that your radio worked, but his doesn't, so that would kind of indicate that maybe the Raspberry Pi configuration is all right, but Well, like I said, I just there was enough loss that I lost the train of thought there. So why don't you try again?
Sure thing. So what we did was we configured his new image, the same image that I'm using, and on my Pi, on his Pi, and after configuring it, my radio, which works on my Raspberry Pi, gave the same error on his Raspberry Pi that his radio gave on his Raspberry Pi. So we were scratching our heads. So we actually went side by side on two different monitors and compared every entry in the IRC DDB config and the MMDVM config, and everything was identical with the exception of the call signs and the frequencies, of course, and that problem persists. But he is now back in Las Vegas, and I think he's also investigating and possibly re-downloading the image for possible corrupt download. And I appreciate the input, and we'll see what happens. I guess it's not a very normal occurrence. I hope this was a clear copy. Over.
Okay. Yeah, that time was 100%. Thank you. I fully copied that one. Yeah, I don't know what to suggest, but try the new download, and if the problem persists, come back next week. Hopefully you won't need to though. Maybe that will fix it. So, do we have any more comments or announcements?
WB6AJX.
Okay, I see WB6AJX and WA7BAQ. Jim, let's go with Jim there to see if he wants to follow up on something that we've already been talking about. Go ahead, Jim.
Did you check on the radio, the RPT1 and RPT2? 2 or 3 months ago, we had someone called in that was having trouble getting the radio to work. And they had RPT1 with their call sign and D, and RPT2 as D, and it needs to be G. So that would be something to check in on to see if they have the RPT2 incorrectly set.
Okay, and that would be in the radio, right? But I'm thinking Brendan said that he also had the problem with his radio, which presumably works with his hotspot. Well, anyway, Brendan, did you copy that?
Yes, sir. That was a good copy, and we are both currently using the Kenwood THD74, and they were both programmed properly. We checked that several times. We were sort of fighting back and forth amongst ourselves whether it was the Pi and the image or the radio. So we quadruple checked everything, and we just gave up. Midnight rolled around after a long drive home from Dayton, and we gave up and figured we'd ask around to see. So thank you, KM4HRR.
Okay, and Jim, did you have anything final to add to that?
No, I just was seeing that been a problem for people trying to make the hookup, and when things weren't linking properly and giving the strange messages, having the RPT1 and RPT2 having the same ender, whereas you need to have G on the end. So that's all I got. Not sure what to say, but the 7VF is clear.
Well, you don't need to say, but it's just, good to remind people. Sometimes you overlook the simple things, like did somebody trip over the power cord, that kind of thing. And it's worth, suggesting and reminding. So thank you for piping up with that, Jim. Next we have Whiskey Bravo 6 Alpha Juliet X-Ray.
Good evening. I was wondering if
the DMR ID was set to the ID of the gentleman with the failing image.
The first part of your transmission was kind of garbled there, and then the rest of it sounded like you were talking about DMR IDs. I'm a little confused there. Would you try again, please?
I was talking about the DMR ID. I don't know how MMDVM host works. It's kind of like a controlling element in the KB5 RAB image, but I'm wondering if it needs a match between the call sign and the DMR ID.
All right. Well, Brendan, does that make sense to you?
Well, let's see. My answer will be that that user is registered on DStar and registered on DMR, and his credentials for both were entered correctly. Call sign in the call sign area and DMR ID in the DMR ID area in the MMDVM image config file. And I think that might answer your question, but I'm not 100% sure. KM4HRR.
Okay, back to, I think it's Doug, WB6AJX.
Yes, it does. The reason I ask is you mentioned it was both images were exactly the same except for call signs. So that was why I questioned the DMR ID. WB6AJX.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, thank you, Doug. Do we have anyone else with a question or a comment?
N9KO with a comment.
Go ahead, Cal.
Very good. I'm not familiar with the DV Mega, but are both DV Mega boxes, so to speak, are they running the same version of firmware or not? Thought I'd throw that out there. I think we're all reaching for straws and trying to find something here, but it sounds interesting, and maybe there are two issues here, because it's odd that I can understand where a person calling in, I forget his call sign, his radio does not work in his friend's DV Mega, so that tells me the DV Mega is wrong. But then his friend's radio should work in his DV Mega, but it doesn't. So that tells me his friend's radio is wrong. But it'll be interesting, and hopefully next week we can find out what the, as I used to say in the news now, for the rest of the story. Back to net control.
Actually, that brings up a question that I don't think we asked. Brendan, did your friend try using his radio through your hotspot, and did it work or did it fail? Hello, Brendan, are you with us still?
I'm just checking. Am I coming through? I think I have a faulty microphone.
Sorry, I think I stepped on you there. Say again, please.
I am using a new plug-in microphone that I picked up in Dayton, and I think it is not working properly. I just unplugged it and am using the push-to-talk. Are you hearing me?
Yes, now I'm hearing you fine.
A, B.
Okay, so, yeah. So the first question from the other gentleman is the firmware on both TV Megas is, I believe, 3.14, the latest that we're aware of. And yes, we did try to use my friend's radio on my hotspot, and it gave the same error. Over.
Oh, now that's interesting. That really muddies the water. I'm not sure what to say about that. So, anyone else have any ideas?
N0WIQ.
I think I see Carrie. Do you have a comment? Go ahead. N0WIQ. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, I forgot to unmute my microphone. So, anyway, is my audio better than it was earlier?
Perhaps a little bit.
Okay, I was just saying that if they had both hotspots set in the same proximity and set to the same frequency, then they might have issues with the radios trying to talk to each other, or the hotspots talk to each other and causing a situation. On the other hand, when they say they used both radios on the same hotspot and got the same answer with the one radio that was giving an error at the other hotspot and all that kind of stuff, that doesn't muddy the issue. It kind of says there's something different with the radios, although it's not visible by the setup. There's a problem with the radio that has to go back to the factory. On the other, with careful explanation of the symptom. And also, but on the other hand, the good radio with the good hotspot does not work with the questionable hotspot, and that suggests an issue with the hotspot because it doesn't show up in the configurations. But hey, that's my comment.
Okay, the tail end of your transmission was kind of all R2D2. Didn't copy that. But what you said before that if the two hotspots were trying to operate on the same frequency, they might have been interfering. But I think that Brendan said that that was one of the things that was different between the two configurations, the call sign and the frequencies. So I'll pass it over to Brendan to confirm that at least that is not an issue.
You are correct, sir. Different frequencies, and going into the experiment, they were well across the room from one another, so they were not in close proximity to one another. I think maybe we've beaten this horse enough, and we can revisit it next week, and hopefully I'll come back and tell you all that we fixed it and how we fixed it. Over.
That sounds like a plan to me, Brendan. Looking forward to it. Thank you to all who offered advice and comments and questions and everything. That's what this net is for. It's to put our heads together. N heads is better than one head, right? So we try to talk things out and ask questions and dot all our I's and cross all our T's, I guess, something like that. I'm running out of cliches here. So, let's see, do we have anyone else with a question or an announcement before we move along and it's almost an hour into the net here. Move along to just check-ins. So, questions or announcements? Do we have any more? KK6 WTJ.
Howdy and good evening, Wayne and all on the net. KC8YQL with a brief announcement.
Okay, I see two call signs there. Kilo 6 Golf. No, wait a minute. How did I write that down? Kilo 6 Whiskey Tango Juliet and Kilo Charlie 8 Yankee Kilo Lima. So let's start with KK6 WTJ.
Thanks, guys. KK6 WTJ. This is Brett out of Pinole, California. I just want to know on the net wide whether anyone's utilized the new ICOM base station that came out here with the 400 model.
The ICOM 4100. I know somebody here who bought one at Xenia, but I have not heard any reports from him on how well it works.
Okay, I just didn't know if anybody else out there might be utilizing one right now, or if they had an opinion about it. The final price tag on the local area around here in California was like $1,500, I think.
No. The ICOM 4100, the mobile, it's the replacement for the radio I'm using right now is an 880, and the 4100 is supposed to be kind of the replacement for the 880. So we must be talking about two completely different radios.
I'm talking about the new replacement for the 880H, which is like what I'm using right now too.
Okay, so that sounds like the same radio, but I'm sure my buddy did not spend $1,500 on one. I think it's closer to $400.
And 9K.
Now, this is the new D-Star model from ICOM that does the, it's basically same thing as the ID51A does, but in the base station 50-watt model.
N9KO, Cal, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I was looking, considered possibly buying that 4100. And over the weekend, so these may be Dayton Hamvention specials, but the 4100 was selling for $399. Now the deluxe, and this is where I really get upset with ICOM for pulling a stunt like this, and they're doing it too many times. They offer the 4100 deluxe for $100 more. And basically, you get a mounting bracket for your extra $100. And when I kind of saw that, I said, no, I'll wait till Kenwood comes out with a D-Star Mobile and go from there. So, again, these may be Hamvention prices, but without a mounting bracket was $399, and with a mounting bracket was $499 for the 4100, whatever they call it, A2 EIEIO model. I don't know. But, and also got a follow-up to that DB Mega thing. So I'll send it back to Net Control. Maybe we're done with that DB Mega issue. I had to step away. N9KO.
Yeah, copy that, Abe. I got it on here for $400. My mistake. I don't know where I heard that from, but I just didn't know if anybody used one yet.
KK6 WTJ?
Go ahead for KK6 WTJ.
Okay, so I forget exactly what your question was. Were you just asking for anyone who had comments about the new radio?
Yeah, is it worth its weight? Like I've got an ID88OH that I've been using for a few years now. Is it worth swapping out, kind of thing?
My impression from the talk about it where did I hear about it? I think it was at the Thursday night, at the Friday night D-Star thing at the hotel. it implements these two new things, the two new modes. I even forget what they're called now. Did I write down the names of them here? I'm not seeing it on my notes here. I would say no. I didn't see anything about it that would, really entice me to replace my 880 with the 4100. Now, like I said, a buddy of mine picked one up and brought it home, and we'll hear what he has to say about it. I think, well, here's the thing. If you're one of those people who have trouble with programming the old way, your D-Star radio, and you really love the DR mode, then that might be the one factor that convinces you to upgrade from an 880 to a 4100. Because I think the 4100 includes the DR mode, and I think you can stick an SD card in it with the database. So it's kind of like the post ID51 880 replacement. So if you really love your 51, then this is how to bring your base mobile unit up to the same level. Okay, thundering response there. So, WTJ there, do you have anything else to add? All right, nothing heard there. We have Kilo Charlie 8, Yankee Quebec Lima. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, Wayne and all on the net. Sorry I'm popping in here kind of late. I've been over on the Bachman Fusion net, the Yaesu net. And actually right now the California Papa System guys just come on board. They started their DMR net at 11 o'clock 2 minutes ago. If anybody's interested in that net, it is on DMR Talk Group on the Brian Meister Network 3106. And Michael's calling for announcements over there. Just wanted to share some third-party traffic from Dayton Hamvention with you guys. I was planning on being there for the whole weekend, and right at the tail end, I had to pull the trigger and not go. But real good information was shared earlier tonight on a couple other nets that was talked about on the DV4 Mobile. If you had a pre-order in, such as I do, we're supposed to be up for a pretty good discount when the radio does become available. So that's kind of sort of the good news. The bad news is we still don't have a date on when it is going to be available. So stay tuned. The best may be coming, but we don't know when it's coming for sure. And of course, they introduced the FT70 and actually skip away a couple of those 70 Yaesu handhelds there on the W5 KUV webcast. If you guys wasn't able to attend Hamvention, you could go up there and still watch the archive videos. Tom over there done a really good job with the archiving of recording the videos. I'm sure he's got them all recorded. He'll probably be showing those videos that he's doing the live stream from. He said he was streaming at 7 megs. So I don't know, 7 megs sounds like a 4K content stream, not just 1080p, but I was receiving at 1080p and I had a really tremendous, awesome picture on my 65-inch 4K flat panel TV. So if you want to check out any of the stuff that was going on, you can go to w5kuv.com and look up some of Tom's videos from Hamvention. That's about all we got there, Wayne. I'm going to turn it back to you for I time things out. And also, I believe they're saying retail price on the DV4 Home is still a crazy figure of like $1,200. If you had a pre-order in, you may be able to get one for around $800, which is still a pretty good chunk of change, right? think you can almost buy an HF rig for that kind of money. Back to you, Wayne, KCYQL. Thanks for hosting the PyNet for us tonight. Really appreciate you being there, my friend.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Do we have any more questions or announcements? Then I'll now take just general check-ins. If you just want to make your presence known, say hi, this is the time to do it. Please call now.
W7SSK. Hi, Wayne.
Okay, W7SSK, Don, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Just wanted to check in and give you a counter. Had a lovely day here in Mukilteo, Washington today. Got a lot of yard work done, and I'm ready to settle down for the evening. So right back at you, W7SSK back there.
Okay, thank you, Don. Do we have any more check-ins? And by the way, I can take 2 or 3 in succession. You don't have to wait in line one at a time.
7
W4LKS.
KC9SIO.
Okay, we have 3 there, starting with VE7LEE. Go ahead, Sid.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is VE7LEE back from Dayton. So if you're wondering why, I asked ICOM, Ray Novak, will ICOM be producing a 220 D-Star radio, or repeater at that? He says, well, for us to be worth our while, if we produce it at prices that people can afford, we would need to sell 50,000 units per year. And we would need to do that for 6 years to recuperate our money back. So that is 300,000 units. And for us, it's not worth our while to produce a 220 D-Star radio. So that was the answer from Ray Novak. And if you go to my Facebook page, you will see a picture of Ray there. Not of him and I together. And that I didn't take a selfie with him. And break, I got another announcement. Okay, thank you for that report, Ted. He's our fearless leader here on the Raspberry Pi D-Star Net. We also have W4LKS. Randy, go ahead.
Hi, Wayne. Yeah, it's Randy, W4LKS near Spokane. So I'm kind of jumping in here late, missed the first half. But I noticed that there were a couple of new products announced at the Dayton Convention. Or anyway, was there any announcement about that earlier, Wayne? Go ahead.
We talked a little bit about the ICOM 4100 and about Robin Cutshaw and Mo, their DV Air product line. I think those are the only new products we discussed.
Okay, cool. Yeah, DV Air, that looks interesting. Kind of like a Shark RF open spot, except it has Wi-Fi and a battery in it. So the way he characterized it, it's all you'd need to have a D-Star hotspot. Pretty cool. And I think there was another one from Northwest Digital Radio. Those guys are cooking up something that sounds like they didn't really announce it, but John described what looks like their UDRC2 board with a built-in little 1 watt transceiver right on the board. So I don't know, maybe you could build something like I guess it would be something like a DV Mega, I suppose, except 1 watt. That's a lot more power than DV Mega's transmitter. Anyway, 7-3 to all from Randy, W4LKS. Talk to you next time. Back to you, Wayne.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Next we have KC9SIO, Steve.
Good evening, Wayne, and everyone on the Raspberry Pi D-Star Net tonight. KC9SIO Steve with an ID51A+, running a 10-watt to my D-Star hotspot, of course, consisting of a Raspberry Pi 2, running D-Star Commander 2.1 with a DV Mega. And it's pretty much been flawless. The only time it's ever screwed up on me is when it is operator error. So, other than that, it's been flawless. Although I do have to reboot it, every few days. That's not my only issue with it. Otherwise, my phone won't. Otherwise, the IRC DDB remote app, my phone won't connect to it. Won't do anything with it. So I pretty much have to reboot it after a few days, maybe, something like that. But I'm not gonna sweat bullets over it. Other than that, it's been flawless. Okay, been listening throughout the net here and had some pretty good discussions. Well, a few people got help. So, Wayne, are you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you fine, Steve.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. I just saw my phone scroll and thought something was up because I've got Buddy on my phone here. Anyway, other than that, not too much is going on tonight. I'd like to invite everyone on here to come over to 1 Charlie on Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central Time for the International D-Star Net. As the majority of you know, that's the oldest and longest running net on D-Star. We usually get over 100 check-ins, as the majority of you know. And Connie did a fabulous job doing it from the hotel in Dayton. So, but the only time she had a hiccup was when her internet device did a hiccup on her. And that didn't even last very long. So anyway, other than that, Wayne, I don't have too much else. Everybody have a great week, and catch all of you next week. But I'll catch you anytime sooner, though some of you I will. AB9FJ and the Raspberry Pi D-Star Net from KC9SIO 73 all the way around.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Do we have any more check-ins tonight?
I'll do an official check-in, WA7VFQ.
What exactly did you say about a check-in, Jim?
I said I'll go ahead and do a check-in just to make it official that I've been here. Great net tonight. I want to let you know I'm coming to you from a Kenwood THD-74A into a Shark RF open spot, which arrived today and programmed up very quickly. It has been rock solid all day long. So I have it set off a different frequency than my Raspberry Pi. My Raspberry Pi is still sitting here and still rock solid. But I have a new Yaesu FT2DR. I'm planning on doing some fusion and a little DMR with it because you can do DMR through fusion on the Shark RF open spot. I have some friends over in Carolina that do DMR, so it'll be nice connecting with them with that. Anyway, great net, and I hope they get back to us next week with that answer on what the problem was keeping that system from coming together. Take care. 73 all, WA7VFQ, clear and back to net.
Okay, likewise, Jim, yeah. Do we have any more check-ins tonight? I think it's about time to wrap it up. Okay, I think that'll end it after, an hour and 15 minutes? Let's see, where's my script here? To find out more about this, is that going to be the end of it? Yeah, okay, to find out more about this, check the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/groups/dstar.pi or the webpage at ba7ref.info. Your participation in this net makes amateur radio a more valuable resource in time of need. I'm now returning reflector 38 Charlie to normal use. Please leave a 30-second pause to allow DVAPs and repeaters to disconnect. This is AB9FJ, out.
W5IEM. W5IEM. VE7KH. W5IEM. W5IEM. W5IEM.